The red wall is crumbling. Labour's so-called working class base is disintegrating before their very eyes. And as for not taxing working people...
One of the great privileges of this job is getting to meet the hard-working people who make up the backbone of Britain.
Who Sir Keir Starmer and his party struggle to define.
Well, a working person is someone who works their living.
I've got that.
And uses our public services, people who earn their living, rely on our services and don't really have the ability to write a cheque when they get into trouble.
Nobody writes cheques anymore. I guess you could say pensioners don't work because most of them have retired, most having worked all their lives. I suppose you could say that farmers' wealth is tied in their land and that they didn't work for the increase of its value due to inflation, which is out of their control, by the way. But they work the land, so working people. And the land is not really up for sale. Plus, there's that matter of food, the thing that we all need to survive. Charging national insurance on employers. I guess they would say that a company isn't an individual, although individuals of working people make up a company. So there's some sort of backward logic at play here, even though their own Chancellor admitted it's a jobs tax.
You've read our manifesto, and in black and white it said we will not increase taxes on working people, and that was national insurance, income tax and VAT.
But not employers.
That was not in the manifesto.
And I suppose adding VAT to private schools, Labour would insist that these schools are getting a tax break and our businesses. But of course the increase will fall on the parents, the working people paying the fees. And make no mistake, those parents are paying twice, once for the space in the independent school and once for the space in the state school that they are not using. In my view, they should be given a tax break and a round of applause for helping out the failing state school system. The party introducing the policy mid-term to capitalise on hard-working parents who didn't want to break their heart of the child by disrupting their education mid-term. The irony here, of course, is that Sir Keir Starmer himself benefited because when his school became fee-paying, the state stepped in to pay the fees so that he could finish his education. Shame on him. All of this is bad enough, but only the last one, VAT on private schools, was actually in their manifesto. But the final straw is taking money off the sick and disabled. Can Labour sink any lower? It's just shameful. Now, I don't disagree that those taking advantage of and scamming the system must be caught and stopped. But what I'm hearing is that those who are genuinely in need are being caught up with the policy. And frankly, this latest move does not represent what people expect from a Labour government. Quite the opposite.
Many of us in the Labour Party, there's this letter, there's another letter come from new MPs with 80 signatures on. MPs are writing individually to the Prime Minister to express their concerns. This is a moment for Number 10 to take stock and to stop these reforms going ahead.
Rachel Maskell, MP for Yorkshire Central, a Labour MP. And a week after Reform UK's victories in the local elections, an independent poll commissioned by IRR International and Savanta for GB News revealed a sharp rise in political disillusionment, particularly amongst Labour voters. 2,111 UK adults were polled between April the 25th and 28th, and it showed that Labour voters were more likely than any other political group to regret the choice that they made in the 2024 general election. Even disgraced Cabinet Minister Louise Haigh said they need to be careful.
Margaret Thatcher. She used to like picking battles. Why was she right to do so? Yeah, why was that good politics?
Margaret Thatcher is a perfect example of that because she drew her strength from that conflict. But that meant that people knew exactly who she was and what she was for. Banning fire and rehire is just almost as popular with Reform voters as it is with Labour ones. But they're just not hearing it at the moment because we're not taking the fight to them. We're not taking the fight, I don't think, to reform on those issues.
They keep saying that they want to go further and faster. I haven't even mentioned the record number of boat arrivals and the spiralling cost of net zero and the NHS.
We get it, and we were elected in last year to bring about change. That's what people desperately want. We started that work. The NHS waiting lists are down, wages are up more than prices, interest rates are down. But the message from these results, I think, is go further, go faster. That chimes with what I want to do.
God help us if they carry on going further and faster in the wrong direction.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Well, joining me now, former Labour spokesperson James Matthewson. James Matthewson, further, faster, wrong direction, wouldn't you say?
Wrong direction for you, Nana, let's be honest. I mean, you're never going to like what the Labour Party does. And
well, what about the local elections? Even their own MPs, they've got now almost 80, I think, of them are talking to them in particular about the removal of benefits.
Yeah, entirely.
Wrong direction.
I mean, no Labour government should ever be removing benefits. It should be strengthening the welfare state.
Yeah, so wrong direction, further, faster.
Yeah, but you're not pro-big welfare state, are you? So which direction do you want to see Labour
Well, no,
going?
I'm happy for them if people are taking the mickey out of something, but I don't want to take money off pensioners, the sick and disabled. Wrong direction, in particular for a Labour Party, that's the point.
Yeah, but that's the point, is that it's a right-wing idea, it's a right-wing policy to have a smaller welfare state and to take money away from those people. That's why Labour have an issue here. They should not be going after these issues. This is not what a Labour Party exists for. The Labour Party was created in 1900 exactly for the purposes of creating welfare, trying to support people, to bring people out of poverty, all of these issues that it's now neglecting. And this is the problem. You hear people like Rachel Maskell, who, you know, is a fantastic MP, standing up and saying this is absolutely the wrong direction for the Labour Party. Now, look, the direction the Labour Party should be going in is not a direction you're going to like either, Nana, or most people on GB News are going to like.
Well, you say that. No, hold on. No. I've got to challenge that. Hold on. Listen, I voted Labour. I have voted Conservative. I have voted even Liberal Democrat. I have even voted Reform. I have voted all political parties, depending on what they're saying. And on this particular issue, if they had put that in their manifesto, then that would have been an even bigger turn for many people who may well have voted Labour this time around, thinking that they would support people who are sick, disabled and pensioners.
Well, that's what many people thought they would be doing. That's what the Labour Party does in government. That's what it's meant to do. Even under Tony Blair, who took the Labour Party to the right from its original ground, he supported the welfare state. They built on that welfare state. What's happened at the moment is we've got this gap from a complete disillusionment with all politicians. And you can understand why. After 14 years of austerity, kind of empty promises from all sides of the political spectrum, people are just completely fed up and they're looking for change. Now, when they tried to press the change button at the general election from the Tories to Labour, they thought that's the opposite direction from the Tories, right? You go in Labour, you go on the other side of the aisle. We're going to give them a chance. And nothing or very little has changed in the way that economics is done. It's economics that affects people every single day in this country. So people just aren't seeing the change. My worry, as a progressive, as somebody who wants to see progressive policies in government, is that this just opens the aisle for more and more people to go anti-establishment. And what is the anti-establishment direction right now? It's Reform UK.
But when is he going to listen then? Because this big majority, it seems that they are using that to just trample over any opposition. And I think they put the fear of God in many of their MPs who will talk a good game, but when it comes to the actual voting, will either abstain or not vote against it.
Yeah, and there is a real fear, and I think a complete paralysis at the top of the party as to what happens here. The Labour Party is a big movement. It's got lots of cogs in it. It's got the trade union movement attached to it. It's made up of many different CLPs, 600 odd of them across the country who all want to see this. But the leadership right now of the Labour Party, from Rachel Reeves, from Keir Starmer, is just stagnant on these issues. And you and I might not agree on what those issues should be or how they should be resolved. But if you're conservative leaning as a person in Britain right now, right, you've got options, you've got places to look. You hear people making your argument. If you're a progressive person and you are desperately concerned, as I am, about the rise of Reform UK, what that means for our politics and for our society, then what is your alternative right now? We are not seeing them combat reform. Instead, even Alistair Campbell has written about this past week, and he's hardly, a major lefty if you think about it. He's seriously concerned that Labour is trying to get itself in a race to the bottom with Reform UK. Let them make that offer. Let them.
Well, no. What's happening?
Labour
I think
needs to stick to its ground, and it needs to be progressive.
I think it's quite a bit of an interesting argument that what you see Reform UK as you're talking about it as though it's just right wing. It's not really, is it? What Reform UK are reflecting are what the British public are thinking. So certain values, so for example, the British public are not really in favour of net zero. Whilst many people want to see a cleaner environment, a lot of people don't believe net zero is the right way to do it. A lot of the British public are complaining about other issues, like, for example, people don't really want to see the farmers having to sell their land because they can see the value that we need to be able to produce our own food, and it's not wise to be. No. Let me just be. It's not wise to continuously rely on foreign providers for those things, especially in times of war or if there are other issues going on with other countries. Steel, things like that, which are issues that you would suspect the Labour Party would support. They are continuing the legacy of the Tory Party and enabling these things to be shut down. So that is what people are seeing. They're not seeing Reform UK necessarily as right wing. They're seeing Reform UK as a working person's party, and that's the problem that Labour have.
I don't agree. I think they're seeing them as anti-establishment.
No.
They're seeing them as a change.
No, we're working person's party. That's what they're seeing. Working people are looking at Reform UK and saying, we don't want people coming here daily by boats.
They're not pro.
That's not right wing.
Trade union. They're not pro-trade union. They're not pro-workers' rights.
Even the trade unions are stepping up against many of the Labour's policies. So, for example, trade unions...
They're not going pro-reform, Nana. They're not going pro-reform.
But they're not supporting Labour, are they?
Yeah, but that's the problem here.
They might well go to reform.
They will go for reform.
And that's for issues. That's not because it's right wing.
The Labour Party. No, the trade unions created the Labour Party. Most trade unions in this country are progressive. There's no way they're going to go to reform. Reform, look, this is the thing. Reform might be pretending right now and going with the tide and going on things like issues like renationalising steel because they know those left-wing economic issues are important to those working class communities. However, all this nonsense about taking down pride flags, about attacks on social rights, social justice issues, they are completely right-wing on that.
That's just on council buildings. That's just on council buildings. That's just on council buildings. They're right.
Yeah,
I think they're correct. I think that's correct.
I
think that's correct not to have political ideologies for council buildings to step into. Hold on. I don't think, like the whole rainbow LGBT plus and all this thing. I think it's right that... No, hold on. I think it's right that these people, councils, should be completely neutral and just represent the country as a whole and not lean towards any political issues. I think that's wise. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Listen, James,
that is not the majority view. I have to say, you think that, Anna, because you're conservative, and if your followers believe that, then their views.
Listen, you say I'm conservative, I'm common sense, and I'm a business person, so I look at things from a business perspective, and I don't think that's got nothing to do with it. I'm talking about issues that need to be neutral. Pride. Yes, no, I'm talking about issues overall, not just LGBT, other issues as well, including DEI, things to do with councils. Councils need to be neutral, so having just the British flag up there, I think is perfect. I think they do.
Political issue. DEI is a very important thing. Diversity, equality,
it's divisive. It's
They're
divisive.
An important thing.
Yeah, it's divisive.
Councils have those training courses in place for a reason.
Yeah, because it's divisive, divide and conquer. It's one of the most... Listen, I am of one of those supposed communities that are meant to be helping, and actually I think it's belittling and disempowering. I think it's awful. Listen, thank you very much, James Matthewson. He's a former Labour spokesperson. I could talk to him for ages on this. I don't think we'd agree, but it's a good conversation anyway. Thank you for joining me.